Most people fail in their understanding or application of the law of attraction because they're either getting wrong information from somebody, or they're getting bad information from somebody, or they just don't understand actually how the laws work, or they're trying to do too much. That's a real common thing that I see with people. This law of attraction, law of creation is extremely simple, and it's extremely innately natural to us. In fact, if I were to say to somebody, I'm going to, in 3 seconds or 5 seconds, I'm going to tell you the key to the law of attraction. Just stop doing whatever you're doing that's not allowing what you want to come to you. And that would be it. Because what you find is people who are experiencing unsuccessful attempts at manifesting things in their world, it's because they're trying to do too much. There's a certain ease and effortlessness that goes along with this kind of creation that's not found in the traditional model. So a lot of times when the law of attraction resonates with somebody and they get excited about it because they start to now have an experience that then maybe they can influence and start to create things that they actually want by simply thinking about it and then feeling themselves experiencing the thing that they want, that's a pretty exciting time for people. But a lot of times when that doesn't work because they're doing things in order to try to get something, instead of allowing things to come to them, which is really the missing ingredient, there's a disappointment that sets in. And the moment that disappointment sets in, now you're starting to have more resistance and more pushback, and the more resistance, then more resistance will be attracted to that. And so it ends up getting worse instead of better, and they don't really have a solution for how to get themselves out of that. And so I notice a lot of people, they either give up, which is kind of comical when you think about this law that's dictating things in the universe. What you're thinking about, you're getting more things coming to you that are like that. There's no quitting that. You can't stop using the law of attraction. It's happening without your consent, whether you like it or not. Well, when people are struggling to manifest their dreams or manifest what they're desiring, what begins to happen is that it's a missingness of faith. They don't have any faith that these laws of operation in the universe, that they actually work. So as time goes by, as the occurrence of linear time goes by, they begin thinking that it's not working for them. Well, a subtle thing to notice here is you begin to think that this isn't working for you. The universe, being an allowing universe, will then begin to support and flow towards that. So if I start saying, this doesn't seem to be working for me, well, then you can pretty much assure that it ain't going to be working for you. That's probably one of the biggest ones, is there's a lack of faith or not a belief in the understanding of this is how this process of creation works. And there's certain universal laws that operate within this. And when I follow these laws and I pay attention to the connection between how I'm thinking and feeling and what's manifesting, it works. And it doesn't just work sometimes, it works every single time when you apply the law correctly. Yeah, so if people are feeling stuck in life and things don't seem to be moving in a direction that they're wanting, what you're really pointing at is that they're experiencing a lot of resistance. There's some pushback of what they're experiencing in their life. And so this might sound a little bit radical or a little bit crazy in the world of where everybody's expressing anything that they want to gather or gain or achieve, or any desires that they want to manifest, is all done by hard work and effort and sacrifice. Well, the first thing I would tell somebody that was having troubles and was feeling stuck is leave it alone. Get your mind off of it. If you have a pet, go play with your pet, go get a massage, take a walk, do whatever you need to do to let that mental resistance relax and chill and move out of your space. Hi, my name is Alan Hendrickson, and for the last 15 years, I've been coaching people in understanding the law of attraction, law of creation, law of vibration. Prior to any teachings and workings with the law of attraction, I was an attorney. And so now a lot of times I like to consider myself a recovering attorney. And one of the reasons that I moved or transitioned into this work is I began to notice that there was a payoff or a much accelerated opportunity for human beings when they understood how these workings of the laws of the universe were operating in our physical world, that would give us a much more of an influence or a say in how things were showing up or how things were manifesting in our lives. And as I began to coach and train people, I think now currently I'm in excess of 1,100, 1,200 people that I've coached. What I've been able to gather and discern over the years is there are some patterns and there's some habits of thinking that are pretty consistent with human beings who are trying to understand and learn the law of attraction. So what I've done is I've taken these particular, let's call them barriers, or these habits of thinking, or these patterns of thought, and I've crystallized them and packaged them into a program that will allow you to, number one, first start to understand these universal principles and the simplicity of them. And then number two, find out where these stops are, these blocks are that you're experiencing that aren't allowing you to manifest what you want. Because in reality, what's so for us as human beings is people already know how to manifest. We're manifesting things all day, every day. You don't need to learn how to manifest. But what you do want and what you are after is you're after the ability to manifest these specific things that you want, things that are dear to you, things that are in your heart. And so what I've come up with is a way, a process, a method where 1,000% of the time, if you want to understand how to create something for yourself and for your life, this works. And what you're going to find out is it's extremely simple. There's not a bunch of things that you need to add to or learn. There's nothing missing in your ability to get this done. There's a couple things that we're going to point out and make you aware of that you're doing that are not allowing what you want to come to you. Biggest block that I find for people is there's so much attention focused on the present time environment, which is yielding to them the missingness of what it is that they're looking to desire. And so what happens is they begin to keep looking to their physical environment and not seeing information or the evidence or the proof or the building blocks of what it is that they're wanting to manifest. And so what begins to happen is their vibration begins to go down as they begin to lose faith in an understanding of these natural laws of creation, and that the thing that they want is in the process of being cultivated and brought to them to experience in this three-dimensional world. So any of these, for example, any negative beliefs about a sense of self-worth, one of the things that's really important to look at, whether it's a limiting belief about your self-worth or a limiting belief about anything involving what you're looking to manifest, what there is to notice about it is if you're going to ask for something and that thing is going to manifest for you to experience in the 3D world, it's going to be because you became an emotional match for the person yourself being in the presence of that thing that you want. And so if you're walking around in a conversation about feeling unworthy, well, unworthy people don't get the things that they ask for. So just expect it not to be showing up until you get that worthy thing handled. So affirmations and visualizations are all really wonderful practices and exercises. And most law of attraction coaches and teachers are using those as tools and methods to give to people that they're working with. The problem with them is that they don't explain what the purpose of the affirmation or the purpose of the visualization is. The purpose of these exercises is to allow you to raise your frequency, to raise your emotional vibration. It's not to make you a good visualizer. It's not to make you a person who's an expert at affirmations. And so what happens is they fail to tell people a lot of times that if you're trying to do affirmations or you're practicing doing visualizations and it's not feeling good, stop doing it. Because what you're now doing is doing something that's just the opposite or counterproductive to what you're looking to accomplish. So one of the things that I teach when I'm working with people is I teach them the purpose behind all of these things that are going on as far as practices, like whether it's affirmations, whether it's visualizations, meditation, and there's another good one. You know, a lot of times people don't understand why it is that one would need to meditate. You know, that you're not really trying to become a meditator. What you're learning to do is practice focusing your attention on something. And when it gets pulled off, practice moving it back on. You can do that by watching a candle. You can do that by yoga, focusing your attention on your body, doing yoga. There's a lot of different ways that you can do what the purpose of meditation is without having to do meditation. So the most important thing I think with all of these practices and these tools is a fundamental, comprehensive understanding of what's the purpose of these things. And one of the things that happens with people is once they understand the purpose of them, they can start to create and custom tailor practices that work for them, that raise their vibration. There's no right thing to do here. Not everybody needs to be a meditator, but everybody needs to find a way to practice building that focus muscle. Many real life examples for people when they apply the law of attraction correctly. Number one is one of the real big ones is there was a man in Las Vegas, Nevada that I worked with, and this man had been bedridden for about 2.5 years. Very wealthy man, kind of owned a bunch of real estate, very wealthy, well-to-do man, and a wife and 2 kids, but he was bedridden. And he was bedridden based on whatever medical diagnosis or whatever things that they had given to him. And in 2 conversations, he had been able to raise his tone level and raise with his understanding of this law of attraction. In 2 days, after 2 days, he had got himself out of bed and actually went to dinner with his family. It was literally a miracle. And I remember very clearly his saying to me as, man, this is so simple. And I had no idea that my mind was impacting me and squashing me down so much and stopping everything that I wanted in the world of having any kind of joy with my life or with my family. So I've made all this money doing this real estate and I'm really good at it, but it didn't provide any happiness for me. And so it's always left me in kind of a confusing state. And he was a real testament to like, when this human being really starts to shift their attention and become aware of how they're feeling and the significance of how they're feeling, how fast that can turn around. Some of the biggest transformations I've seen in my students is, number one, first and foremost, is the ability to have a say in the matter of how they're feeling. That's the universal one for all of them. And one of the things that shows up a lot is as people begin to understand or learn that how I'm going to create things, how it's going to happen is not the significant part of the law of attraction, but the why of it and the feeling behind it and the experience of having it and the imagining of it and noticing that when those feelings don't feel good, that you don't go in and try to force yourself through any kind of work to make something happen. Like, if you're doing affirmations, for example, and you start to feel a little bit uncertain and unsure, you don't then up the force level of I'm going to get this thing that I want so bad. That's not the right direction for it. That's just more of the kind of physical world and effort and sacrifice and hard work. And so what I noticed is that if people start to begin to understand how this actually fundamentally works, they're able to create pretty much anything that they want. I've had people that have created businesses, multi-million-dollar businesses, lovers. They've created lovers and relationships where they come to me in a situation where they're dealing with something. Let's say, for example, somebody's dealing with not having money, or somebody's dealing with not having a lover, or somebody's dealing with something with their job. Well, that's normally how somebody shows up coming to me, as they're in the contrast of something. They're experiencing something that they don't want, but they're not aware of the fact that they've created this contrast of what they don't want, so they can experience that, which will allow them to appreciate and experience the opposite of it, which is what they actually want. So maybe said a little bit differently, if somebody comes to me and they start talking about the difficulty and the struggle they're having in their relationship, I know for sure what this person wants immediately. They want to be in a loving relationship. It's just right there. It's just right there. And so one of the things that I do really quick with people is I get an understanding and a really clear understanding of what's the purpose of creating these contrasting relationships. Yeah, there's a difference. There's a difference when you're creating things that you don't like, and you have telling and sharing and learning the fact of, I create my reality. Absolutely. I am the author of everything that's happening in my life. It seems a little bit weird when you have things that you don't want that are showing up, because people would say, if I was actually the person that was creating my life exclusively, 100%, like you say, I wouldn't create that. I would never create that thing. And so what I tell them is, I didn't say you were creating it on purpose or that you knew that you were creating it. That's why we're together. And so what's going to happen is, now that you see these things that you've created that you don't want, I'm going to show you how to get yourself to create the things that you do want. And it's so simple that when people start to understand how this actually works, the natural innate ability that they have to manifest what they want, they create really whatever they want. So the fundamental teachings that I deliver is, it's designed for people to have an experience of it working immediately. And so what we want to do is we want to start to get to the core of what's at the source of all of this manifestation and this law of creation, law of vibration, law of attraction stuff. And what's at the core of it, and the first manifestation that people are going to experience, and by manifestation, what I'm really talking about is I'm talking about you're going to actually have an ability to experience something and interpret this something as like experientially through your senses. That's what we're talking about with the manifestation. So it could be anything from a house to a car to the first manifestations that we're talking about with my work and my teaching is the feeling. So as people begin working with me, the first initial manifestation that they experience, which cultivates more confidence, which cultivates and fortifies the faith and belief that this actually works, is they begin feeling better. They begin feeling better. And the tricky little distinction for human beings to understand about this law of attraction stuff is everybody's doing what they're doing because they think when they get what they're after, they're going to feel better. So they don't really want the thing that they're after. They think they do. But what they really want is the feeling of having that thing. They don't want the lover. They want the feeling of having the lover. They don't want the car. They want the feeling of having the car. That feeling is the driving source or the impetus of all of it. And so we get right really straight about that really fast right out of the box because that's the engine of all of it. And once you get that that's the engine of all of it and you understand that and then you start shifting the momentum of that emotionally, you experience manifestations emotionally really fast. One of the things when it came to offering a platform or offering a way to extend myself out into the world for, starting to work with people, there were a couple things that I was looking at. Number one is I wanted to price my program in such a way that it wasn't out of reach for people, but I also wanted to price it in such a way where, people would have something invested in it, had some value and some importance to them. And along with that, I wanted them to get a flavor and get a taste of being on a phone call with me. And so they could literally feel what is going to be happening with their call. And so in that first 30-minute call, one of the things that happens with everybody that get on the phone with, they're going to tune into this vibrational experience that they're having just in an emotional experience. And they're going to feel the fluctuation of that and understand the connectedness to that in what they're doing. And so it would be similar to the reason I have the free phone call is it's hard to get somebody that experience without talking to them. It would be like me trying to explain balance to you. It's hard to get there. But if I take you out on a skateboard, well, you can actually experience balance, right? So I want them to experience the experience of being in communication with me. One of the great things about booking a one-on-one call with me is when we get together, I'm going to give you a quick, short roadmap on how you're going to get from where you're at to where it is that you want to be. And those are going to be our two reference points. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in some of the principles and the laws that we're going to go over on our way to taking you from where you are to where you want to be. And then I'm going to show you how innately natural you are at this and how good you are at this. And then we're going to talk about what are the things that are missing to have you allowing yourself to experience all of those things that you want. And I'll say this again, it's so simple. It's so simple, and people have made this so confusing and so difficult in their effort to try to figure it out. It's almost as if there's an intentional effort to make it confusing. So we're going to strip a lot of the confusion off in that first phone call and maybe find out maybe some of the kind of false beliefs that you have about the law of vibration or the law of creation. So we can kind of hone in and get you like starting to become aware of, wow, I had a thought. And then I started altering how I was thinking, and that thought started showing up in the physical world. That's really what people are after. This one-on-one call is for people who have found out or discovered either the law of attraction or the law of vibration or the law of creation, and they're now reaching out and looking for some more information or some understanding of it. Nobody needs to reach out and do this. People can find their way to this on their own. But it sure is nice to accelerate that journey and have somebody that kind of has walked that path that can actually show you the process and the method to get there. And so I would say this is for anybody who's either interested now in finding out more about the understanding and the laws of the law of attraction and how to apply them to their life, or somebody that this is a lot of people that I get connected with are, they've learned this from somebody, but something's missing or something's out. And they've gotten to the point where now they've gone from being excited to now they're disappointed. And one of the things that happens a lot for people is they go from being disappointed in the no results of the law of attraction, and then they begin to explain to people why the things they've been asking for aren't showing up. And then you're just lost. You're in really big trouble when you're in that position. And then what we really want to do is find those people who have had no success but have an understanding of the law of attraction and tweak and get them back into alignment. One of the things that I have found with people is once they start to have difficulty or struggles or no success with the law of attraction, over time, what they begin to do is they begin to make up things and justifications to try to understand why it's not working for them. And these things that they make up are always these very ambiguous and spiritually kind of a woo-woo kind of a, like, the reason I'm not able to manifest this new lover is because I'm paying back some karmic debt from my past lives, right? And you can see immediately when you say like that, that's pretty much okay. Then I guess it's over. There's not much else to talk about unless you want to talk about your karma, right? And so there's a lot of these things that happen with people who get stuck and aren't getting results. Those are perfect candidates for me. And I don't know who it's not for. Somebody maybe who's not interested in the law of attraction, maybe would be what it is. I say to people, this conversation is the number one conversation on the planet. It's the most important, valuable conversation to a human being. And I don't say that because it teaches you how to get things in your life. I say it more importantly because fundamentally, all of us want to feel good and be happy. And this gives you the access and the tools to create that and understand that for yourself. So this conversation is for everybody, but not everybody's always ready for it. There's timing in this method. A lot of times people show up with a kind of a background or a general understanding of the law of attraction, and they've got some pieces of this and stuff they heard from over here, and they're all kinds of some misinformation, some good information. And so that's really good, actually, because it means that they've got a general understanding of kind of the workings of how this kind of operates as a concept. And so when people come with that, we kind of bring some order to it. We clean up the little pieces that are missing. We kind of look at what the pieces are that are the turbocharging parts, the emotional parts of this, and just kind of get it realigned and cleaned up. It's actually really good if somebody's been working and applying bad or wrong information to themselves and trying to use the law of attraction or the law of creation, because it's really cool because you can really, really count on yourself not to make that mistake again. The one-on-one sessions are more powerful because there's a vibrational transmission that takes place during the phone call. You will literally feel the experience or the alteration of your vibration as you're in this phone call. And just so it's not discerned or understood or interpreted as some sort of a strange kind of interaction. What actually happens is as you begin to develop certainty in understanding how things are showing up in your life, what happens is that certainty replaces uncertainty and doubt. And uncertainty and doubt creates a resistance or a pushing against us or a not feeling goodness about us. And that resistance is what stops things from one of the things that stops things from being manifested and experienced by people. So the big thing about the one-on-one call is certainty replaces doubt and not knowingness. That's the big part. And so when that happens, the vibration rises. So how I came to the law of attraction was I was kind of moving forward in life, and I was living in a world where I was just kind of hustling around, doing whatever jobs or things that needed to be done. And I was not really feeling comfortable in my own skin. I was feeling scared and uncertain about my future, scared and uncertain about my present. My relationships weren't really good. Nothing was really working well in my life. And I came out of a real violent childhood. And so there was a lot of scatteredness and kind of dispersed energy about myself. And I lived most of my days in fear. And then as I got older, one of the things that I did to try to compensate and try to handle myself being not worthy or kind of broken or kind of not whole and complete was I got myself into law school. I got myself through college and I got through law school. And then when that finished up, that didn't handle it. There was still something missing that was incomplete there. And as I began listening to, I had, fortunately for me, I had come across a teacher that I had gotten in touch with, just through the way the law of attraction works again. I started asking for some guidance from the universe. I started asking. And so I ended up being a student of a teacher named Ram Dass, and I studied with Ram Dass for probably, I would say maybe 5 years, 4 or 5 years, and got my first real understanding of these kind of metaphysical spiritual views. And then after that, I spent time with, another great teacher who had a great influence on me was Wayne Dyer. I spent time with Wayne Dyer. And so I started calling in and pulling forth these greater teachers. I went to India and I went to Dharamsala, and I made space and time with the Dalai Lama. I started moving around looking for these great teachers because I wanted some answers on why I didn't feel good. And I was just kind of wondering, I was like, kind of in an apathetic condition of like, is this all there is? And when I first discovered the law of attraction, it really resonated with me. I mean, really, really resonated with me, where I felt for the first time I had a chance. And what I did after that is, after about maybe 8 months or a year of, very rigorous daily study and reaching, not from the context of hard work, but from, I was really hungry to get this information. I wrote my first book, Think It, Feel It, Have It, in 2012. And that was really, that's when I kind of knew like I was on the right path, and this was really in my spirit for me to do this. So I guess really the way I got interested in it is I was trying to salvage myself. My motivation for helping people is fundamentally from this context. Number one, I don't think anybody's broken. I don't think anybody needs to be fixed. Nobody likes to be evaluated. Nobody likes to have any of these things put on them just as a spirit or as a being. It doesn't feel good to people. So for me, what I do is I just take comfort, or I take joy in the fact of when the right person arrives with me, that person actually, when they receive this transmission, I get a sense or a feeling of kind of forwarding the action on the planet. And so for me, in looking at what I was going to do with my life and how things were going to move for me and on my purpose, things that became very clear to me were, number one, when I was doing this, I didn't have an experience of time. Number two, when I'm at an event and I'm leading an event, I kind of sometimes get exterior to myself, and my experience of being a human being almost kind of relaxes to the point where I feel almost like I'm walking on air, like I'm almost floating. And these kind of emotional indicators are always guiding me and letting me know like I'm on track, and I'm on the right track. And it just kind of got to the point where I realized that there's nothing wrong with somebody wanting to go get things and handle themselves. It's important for that. And there's also like the feeling of being able to help others. And so it's not from the context of being a priest or being a pauper or something like that. It's more from the context of this is a real valuable, powerful tool for human beings to understand themselves and then have some input and influence on the things that are happening in their life. And for me, there's just no greater conversation. There's no greater gift to give somebody. I have, on almost a daily and for sure on a weekly basis, I get text messages, I get phone messages of people of, how great their life is, how wonderful things are, and how, just so thankful and so much appreciation. And it's really wonderful to get those messages because of all those people that I've worked with. I always feel the appreciation back for them when I get those messages for them. So there's a presence of love and joy in my life, and so much appreciation when I'm doing this work with people. And even more so when I don't know how many teachers I've created, but it's been quite a few. But when I hear people that get so excited and they move on and then they want to go teach, it's just nectar for my soul. So if someone's on the fence about, deciding whether or not they want to kind of move on to their manifestation journey and get involved and understand and learn the law of attraction, my advice to them would be like, hey, if it feels right for you, go forward and get it. And you're either going to go forward and start to understand little pieces of it, and you're going to dabble at it, or you're going to come forward and the timing is going to be in such a way, then you're going to hear it and you're going to feel something, and you're going to get excited about it, and then you're going to move forward on it at light speed. But there's no, there's no right, perfect way to do any of it. Everybody's on their own schedule. Everyone's on their own trajectory, and the right people are getting matched up. And if we're the right person, you're going to know it pretty quick. So if you're still watching this video and you've heard some things that might have resonated with you and you think there might be something possible for you, click down below, get in touch with me. Let's have a conversation. And you're going to know immediately whether or not this is a match. And whatever ends up happening is absolutely perfect. But I sure would love to connect with you and just have a conversation.